What's up, everybody? It's me. It's PLD.
Yeah, hi everyone. We fired the fuckwit Jarvi after he couldn't count, and for all the stuff that he keeps saying about the Avatar movies, we don't take kindly to things like that. I'm PJ. I'm happy to be back, taking the spot of the most useless member of the channel.
Oh, useless member. Oh man, shots are fired.
Shots fired. And I guess I'm Matty Gunner, and this is Class Action.
Yes, the most countiest show on the interwebs, I guess. Now
you had one job, Jarvi. It's basic math. It's addition. Like we learned that shit when we're 5. What were you doing last week?
And don't
the
claim
most numerically deficient show on the.
This is why he likes Avatar so much. This is it right here. Avatar is made for people who can't do math.
That's a bold statement. That's a bold statement. I'm here for it. I can't deny anything you were saying at this point.
I knew you can't because I'm right. It would be really great if everyone could just get on the same page with me when they know that I'm right. Like Jarvi, if he could just admit that Avatar is only made for people who, like you, it's fine. We don't, at least I'd give him a pass.
Okay.
It's
All right, it's fine. All right.
Welcome.
Welcome.
I'm just sitting back and enjoying the ride.
Matty, I'm just so happy to see you.
I'm happy to see you too, dude. It's been a minute.
I know.
And Matty, you should plug it right up top. You have a great song that's out supposedly. I haven't had a chance to listen to it yet.
Yeah.
I'm going to listen to it as soon as we're done here. But tell me about it.
So I woke up this morning and I was like, I'm supposed to be doing something today. Like something important is happening today. I was like, I got class later. What the fuck? Because I've been like, my head has been so on a swivel from recovering from When We Were Young festival. And then I got a notification on my phone saying Hope Fell Silent is out now. I was like, oh shit, my song's out today.
I appreciate that Matty forgot that his own song was coming out.
I completely forgot that my song came out today, which you guys can go check out now on Spotify, wherever you get your music. Also on the Morning YouTube channel. The song is called Hope Fell Silent. I literally put my heart and fucking soul into this one. So if you guys wouldn't mind going checking it out, let me know what you think. I'd really appreciate it.
And it's more understandable to forget that than it is to not know how to do math.
Basic math. Jarvi, this one's
You're on notice, motherfucker.
In all seriousness, I will throw it out there that Jarvi chose not to be a part of this episode because he has not seen enough of the movie.
He's lame.
He is lame. He's obviously, yes, because he's not seen enough to give the proper bow credit. So when we had to substitute Jarvi, who am I going to turn to when it comes to horror icons, except for my fellow mediocre white dude, which is basically we do a horror podcast. We don't say we do a horror podcast. We say we do other stuff, and we occasionally will do other stuff. At the end of the day,
it's a horror podcast.
It's basically ends up being a horror podcast.
I was having to explain that the other day to someone in my personal life who was like, wait, so why don't you guys do anything else? And I was like, we kind of pigeonholed ourselves. I'm going to be honest. Like, it wasn't necessarily intentional, but we became a horror podcast first and foremost. And we do try to do other things, but it really is just a horror podcast.
We did do the Lord of the Rings trilogy, which is only partially.
I made the argument that at least one of those movies is actually a horror film.
It is. There's definitely arguments to be made, and I get that. But I think we will occasionally do other stuff. But as of now, no end in sight because we're doing The Shining and Doctor Sleep as a duo next.
Doctor Sleep directed by Mike Flanagan, the great Mike Flanagan, who we talked about last week on the show,
and declared a winner wrongfully because of Richard-Erik Jarvi.
He was a winner for all of an hour.
God, and look, I'm going to be honest with you. Don't get me wrong. I like Mike Flanagan, and he is a winner in all of our hearts because Dr. Sleep is a masterpiece. That doesn't change the point that we had to pull the fucking rug out from under him. He deserved better. Jarvi, learn basic math.
Flanagan is better than La La Land. All right, come on. He doesn't deserve that.
Right, he is.
He doesn't deserve that whole debacle. But that's not here. That's not today. Today we are here, spooky season, full in place. My favorite time of the year as far as movies go, and we are discussing. Not one versus one. We're doing the big 3 icons. Michael Myers versus Freddy Krueger versus Jason Voorhees. And what we do on Class Action, if you've never been here before, hit that like, hit that subscribe, leave comments later on. Tell us what you think, who you think wins.
Or tell us that you want to see more of me because I can.
We do want to see more of
properly.
PJ. Like, you don't have to like the video to tell you that. I can tell you, I want to see more of PJ. I want to see more of PJ. I don't see enough of PJ. I want to see more of PJ.
Fair enough. Well, on top of class action, what we do is we put these icons up against each other in custom made categories, and we determine who is going to be judged guilty and who's going to be judged the winner, and in a very vicious battle to the death. Especially in this case, it actually really probably legitimately makes sense there because we're talking the 3 horror icons that we are. It's interesting we're doing a 3-way. We haven't done one of those in a while, but the battle will still be the same. And I can't wait to discuss these. This is like 3 of my favorite characters in movie history. We get a lot of good fun categories to talk about in this one. But of course, before we do that, we do have our first game we play, which I believe Matty completely forgot about this week in honor of Richard-Erik Jarvi.
I didn't forget. I just completely did the wrong thing. I did which one of the 3 would we cast Ed Harris as?
Honestly, that probably would have been better.
Maybe. If you want to do just one, I have one for all 3. I'll give it to you. But if you guys want to do just one, I'll let it go. That's perfectly fine.
No, I understood the assignment ultimately at the end of the day. Unfortunately,
the Europeans letting the side down once again.
I mean, there's only
I can
one
do it. No, fuck it. I can do all 3. Let's go.
Okay.
I can come up with it.
Can I do mine first, though?
We will. And to say, we'll actually describe the games, and we just kind of alluded to it. The game is, what would Ed Harris play? Ed Harris, the favorite character actor of the Class Action podcast of all time.
Of PLDs. Let's be honest.
Hey, Matty and Richard-Erik Jarvi have also acceded to that when you have been gone. Maybe you. I can't speak for PJ, but I will speak for the general podcast as a whole.
Is his name Bruce Campbell? No. Is his name Jeff Daniels? Also no.
Right, which is why he's better. But
yeah, that'd be a good one to do one day, though. What would Jeff Daniels play?
Yeah, right. Fucking right.
You know what? Next time you guess PJ, we will do that. How about that?
Because the one time we did, what would Bruce Campbell play?
Yeah,
like the next one should be.
We will
do
that. I'll do that for you. But that's not today. That's not this day. That's an interesting point. Ed Harris could probably play Freddy without makeup because he's got enough wrinkles. That's actually very true. He's very wrinkled at this point.
John, shut up.
What would we do? We would recast Ed Harris in the movie we're talking about, or the director's filmography. In this case, we have 3 franchises. We're going to plug him into the 3 franchises. He can either replace a role, or you can write a new role in for him. So let's get right to it. PJ wants to go first. Which one are you going to go first with?
I'm starting with Friday the 13th because this was like immediately my choice when I knew that we were going to do this.
Okay.
Because there's a single character in 2 of the movies that is iconic to horror fans. And we're not talking about like Jason and his mother. We're talking about Crazy Ralph. There's no one better for Ed Harris to say than Crazy Ralph. You're doomed, doomed. Like that to me is the Ed Harris of it all. You have to have Ed Harris as the Crazy Ralph character who tries to warn the horny teenagers not to go to Crystal Lake because they're all gonna die.
I love it. I am all on board with that. I did pass through my mind. That's like, you definitely sold it for me. I'm in. Matty, what about you for Friday the 13th?
I was gonna have. I'm gonna switch it up.
Oh,
we're not gonna have Jason's mother. We're gonna have his father.
God damn it! I'm going first. We're gonna have Jason's father.
Hey, PLD, you're doomed, doomed.
He's going to be playing Jason's abusive father.
Yes. That's exactly what I was going to say too. Actually, we'll do this one together then, Matty.
Oh, look who decided to show up today.
Oh, can I block him? Am I able to do that? Do I have mod powers around here?
I don't know if you do or not. You could try.
I'm gonna
Jarvi,
try.
you should definitely rewind because we definitely gave you a little bit of a roasting. So,
a little bit.
Yeah, you gave you a roasting.
Everything that
I was completely impartial. I'll have you know.
For audio listeners, Richard-Erik Jarvi has popped up in our YouTube chat. That's why we're roasting.
Oh yeah, we have audio listeners now.
We are gonna. Well, we will eventually. It's gonna get that way. We're kind of slowly building it up. You're probably listening to this. If you're listening to the audio only, it's probably months from now, but that's okay. Well, getting back on hand, I actually agree with you, Matty. I think that's a great choice. I thought because they've actually Jason's father almost appeared in the franchise at one point. There was actually a scene written for him. He's going to appear. He's going to be the one that was taking care of Jason's grave for him and things of that nature. But they never did eventually make it into the series. It would be cool to see Jason. I don't know if he'd be abusive father. I think almost in a way it'd be kind of fun if he just kind of came back and was like almost her he was on Jason's side. He was kind of like the mother in a way, but had just for whatever reason was missing for a long time. He comes back and wants vengeance for the boy, just like his mother in a way. Could be an interesting way to tackle it up. You have Jason Voorhees and fucking Ed Harris. That's fucking awesome. So, Matty, you and I'll pick that together. We'll make that a joint pick then in that way.
Okay.
So, all right then, PJ, on to you for the next franchise. Your choice: Nightmare or Halloween.
I'm gonna go with Halloween. Okay. And this is another one where there's like so many obvious answers you could go with. Like you could recast Donald Pleasance, but who wants to recast Donald Pleasance?
Yeah,
Let's be real. No one wants to recast Donald Pleasance. However, there is one character that we can recast, and that is Dr. Dan Chalice from Halloween 3, played by Tom Atkins.
I completely forgot about that guy.
3, and that movie, it's already great. Don't get me wrong. However, you put Ed Harris in it.
I like Tom Atkins a lot. I do love Tom Atkins. Halloween 3. Ed Harris would be that would be a very cool thing to see. I do like that. It's a good call. Very good call.
You know what? It's like the outside the box thinking that you have to have in the moment where you're like, I don't want to mess with like certain aspects. My other was actually to recast Busta Rhymes with Ed Harris so that he could say "treat motherfucker." But
no, that would definitely make Resurrection better.
Well, but also the cultural appropriation. Do I really want to recast a black guy with a white guy? You know, you got to think about these things. But Tom Atkins, we can recast Tom Atkins.
Absolutely, we can. I get that. Okay, cool. Matty, what do you got for Halloween?
I feel like Ed Harris would be like a good minor cameo as like a generic cop that shows up one night and then just gets absolutely murked by Michael Myers. I don't know why. I could just see him like pulling up to like a house or something, and then just like getting out and showing Michael his badge, like just like, hey, stop or I'll shoot, and then just getting absolutely destroyed.
What disrespect you have for Ed Harris? That's fine. Okay,
it's the type of like small little character actor cameo that
you offer. Okay. That's fine. Actually, Halloween was one of my most interesting ones for me. I did run through the gamut of a couple different things. I did consider replacing Donald Pleasance, but then I was like, you know what? We could replace Malcolm McDowell in the remakes, possibly. I could do.
I would be okay with that. I could be okay with that.
That's something I'm thinking of. I was thinking maybe Brackett we could possibly do at one point, but I love Brad Dourif in the remake, so I don't know if I want to do that. I had the running joke. I really had the joke right in our grasp. We could have gone with let's just replace the Men in Black from Halloween 6 with the Men in Black.
Jesus.
From Westworld, right? I mean,
I actually thought about that. That did cross my mind.
But instead, I'm doing something a little bold.
Okay.
Just a little bold. You see, Michael Myers wears a William Shatner mask. No longer.
Oh, no.
Motherfucker.
William Shatner mask no longer. Instead, Michael Myers is now wearing an Ed Harris mask.
All right, I'm gonna need someone to give me mod powers real quick. By the way, because Jarvi's in the chat saying I'm just filling his seat right now, and he's pissing me off. I'm gonna need to mute this man from the channel.
I don't even know if we can do that, but we'll have to try it. But my God,
crash in the chat. That's all.
I thought it was pretty ingenious.
I hate this workaround because it just gives Ed Harris screen time over 12 movies, and that just feels wrong.
And Ed Harris becomes the mask. Like, that is such an icon. Think how many people dress as Michael Myers for Halloween.
Then I'd see Ed Harris everywhere. Oh,
yeah. No. Ed Harris masks are going to be all over the place.
I'm sorry. That's going to be a no from me.
That's a brilliant. That's not a brilliant suggestion I've had. Come on. It's been the most brilliant suggestion I could possibly have had.
Ooh, I like this one from Refism, though.
That one's better.
Ed Harris is Judy Greer's dad in Halloween 2018.
That'd be kind of cool, actually. That would be kind of cool. It's an interesting choice. Good job, Refism. I like that one as well.
And from John Getzer, current Ed Harris could probably play Freddy.
That's what I brought up earlier.
Yeah.
All right. So let's talk about that. Let's talk about Nightmare on Elm Street then.
All right. Well, it's kind of fitting that Refism said what he said because there is a character. I'm not like huge on Nightmare, and you guys are going to figure that out as we go along. But there is a character played by John Saxton. It is Nancy's father, and that is Lieutenant Donald Thompson. There's just, of all the characters, I don't want to mess with the Robert Englund of it all. He's way too iconic. And you don't want to mess with the remake because Jackie Earl Haley, he tries, and no one wants to put anyone through that movie. So I feel like the one character that makes the most sense is the John Saxon character. Ed Harris fits that very well. And then he gets to come back in New Nightmare. So PLD wins because he gets multiple appearances from him too.
And three, actually, did 3 movies.
Oh yeah, that's true.
Too. So yeah, and actually, I'll jump ahead, Matty, real quick and say actually that was my choice as well. I thought the one that was actually pretty familiar, John Saxon. Yes, Lego, John Saxon of Black Christmas fame and of Enter the Dragon fame. Yes, I agree that is a perfectly set up role for Ed Harris, the old bitter cop who has to come in and like be protective and be kind of grizzled and everything else at this point, and he gets multiple appearances, so I'm happy for it. So we'll go for it. I like that. Then you get Ed Harris playing Ed Harris. It's like, ooh,
also
sweet.
Remember when John Saxon was in Beverly Hills Cop 3?
I do remember that as well. Jeff, come on now. You know you're going to enter this show, and Ed Harris is going to be referenced. I have a whole segment, and we have a whole segment on it. It's Richard
Jeff,
Jarvis'
if you
favorite.
could just like this video for Matty and I, that would be great.
There you go. Thanks.
He
All right,
probably
Matty.
did more for you than me, but
No. Jeff likes you. He likes me. He can't stomach the Ed Harris of it all, so he hates PLD. It's fine.
It's fine. I got it.
I guess I'll just end mine on. My original plan was I thought we were gonna pick which one of these Ed Harris will play, so I'm gonna have Ed Harris play Freddy in some form of a reboot.
Okay, and a reboot. Okay, all right, I'll take that. Well, he's not much younger than Robert Englund, I don't think. They're probably close to the same age. But Ed Harris could definitely pull it off. I think you've seen him in Westworld. He's still pretty active oriented. He could probably do some major kills. I like that. So
And it's like we want to give Robert Englund a little bit of a break. How many times has he played Freddy now?
Well, you got
7 movies and
8.
the TV show and the Goldbergs.
Well, technically 7.5. It goes to 8 because Freddy and Jason is a different one too. So.
Oh yeah. So okay. Yeah. Not bad.
And not the Goldbergs. There's another one that's Freddy is 1.2, I think, and on both
the Goldbergs is the most recent though. That that was in the last 2 years.
That's true. That's true. And the Stranger Things appearance was very Freddy-esque to a degree. I mean, the whole thing was about Freddy. So, all right, let's move on then. Let's get to the meat of the show, the trial, as it were. I'm going to give you the six categories we made this week. We did make 6, and not because I want someone to win, just because we couldn't decide. We couldn't cut. I didn't want to cut one out. So this ends up becoming a little bit more, as I realized today. I don't know if you guys realize this. It is Freddy versus Michael versus Jason, but it's also the franchises versus each other to a degree. Also,
honestly, that's how I was looking at it. Was mostly the franchises.
I mean, it ended up being a little bit of both, but at the end of the day, they're basically synonymous with their franchise anyway, so it makes sense. So category number 1, I'll just list the categories, then we'll go back. Category number 1 would be most consistent films. Which franchise which franchise of the 3 has the most consistent good films?
That one was tough.
It's tough. It is. They both have their ups and downs. Let's be honest with each other. Some have serious ups and some have some serious downs. We got number 2, best kills. Who has the best kills in the franchise? This is what we're talking about. Anyways, this is the horror icons we need. This is what we want to say, right? Okay. Number 3, which of these 3 had the highest peak? I think this is going to be an interesting discussion. I have a hot take, I think, on it. Who has the highest peak of the 3? Not who's the better, not who has the most long term, but who is at the peak of their existence, who reached the heights. 4, better future. Better future of the franchise, because we know even though Halloween just ended, it's not going to end forever. It's going to be rebooted in a couple of years anyway because it makes money. It does.
I see what you did there. Halloween just ended.
5, most intimidating, most scary. Who's the one you would not want to face? I mean, you wouldn't want to face any of these 3 guys at any time because they'd fucking rip you to shreds. But if you had to choose, I definitely don't want to face this guy. That's the one you're going to pick at this point. And finally, 6, better legacy. At the end of the day, when you look back on these franchises, who has the best legacy? Who is the one that's looked on as the most iconic, potentially, as we move forward? This is great, though. Lego, what was the first question? That's what we're going to say again right now. First question. We're going to go into it. Which of these franchises has the most consistent films? Now, one thing I do want to break out before we go anything. Do we count Halloween 3 in this mix? Because we did say Jason versus Freddy versus Michael. I think we got to take that out of this if we're going to do it.
But I just used it. All the same.
Well, that's the Ed Harris game is one.
And I'll say this. In the defense of Halloween 3, I still do contend that it is somehow canonically connected, so much so that it was almost used again in Ends.
That's true. Very much should have been using Ends, to be honest
And it
with you.
should have been, and it's very fucking clear if you watch 2018 that was what they set out to do until they changed their minds.
That's true.
So I think Halloween 3, and you still see Michael in it. I mean, it's footage on the television, but
I will say that, and Jamie Lee Curtis has made an uncredited appearance as a voiceover.
And Carpenter was still involved, and so was Deborah Hill.
Okay, all right, I'll go with that. I was trying to think about it because the whole.
I mean, look, we're gonna have Freddy versus Jason in there. We're gonna have the remakes of all the movies too. Like, you know, I think it all.
Let's just throw everything, all the cards on the table. Fuck
all right,
all cards on the table.
All right, then let's do it. Then who has the most consistent films? Which one of you gentlemen wants to go first?
I would like to go because there's one answer, and that is Friday the 13th. Thank you for coming to my TED Talk. The TED Talk is that over the span of the 8 movies, while Friday the 13th never reaches the highs of the first Nightmare or the first Halloween, like that first Friday the 13th is fine. Friday the 13th Part 2 is actually the better movie, and it's the one I think that most people start to remember because, you know, spoiler alert for the movie that came out in the 80s, the first Friday does not have Jason. It's not until the second movie that he even shows up, et cetera, et cetera. But I think over time, the Friday movies were always the most consistently entertaining. They're the ones that I can go back to the most, where I can put on pretty much any one of them at any time and I will enjoy it. Whereas there are pitfalls in both Nightmare and Friday's franchises that I won't go back to. Even at its absolute worst, if it's Friday Part 5 or even New Nightmare, I can still watch them because there's still something interesting to see in those movies. And furthermore, if I want to put all the cards on the table, Jason Goes to Hell was eventually going to tie into the second Freddy versus Jason film, which eventually became a comic, which is Freddy versus Jason versus Ash. So it does tie into the Evil Dead franchise in some capacity, which makes it interesting to me. And I guess that would go for Nightmare as well. But I think the Jason films continue to be the most entertaining kind of period, and that there's a reason that they were able to do 8 of them in such a quick succession, and I don't think that the quality ever really diminished, and I'd actually say some of its highs are right in the middle of the franchise, which is super interesting. So the Friday films built up and like plateau and go down a little and then come back up a little, but for me the Jason films continue to be endlessly rewatchable in a way that I don't think all the Friday movie or all the Nightmare movies or the Halloween movies are.
Okay, that's fair. Fair point. But quick before I move on, I'm going to take the next one on this one, if you don't mind. But Jason Ross in the chat, good friend of mine from home here. What about Friday the 13th Part 5? Technically speaking, that's actually, exactly the point. Jason, he brings it up as well. Good point. Lego, definitely on your side for Friday the 13th. Yeah, PJ. And of course, Sean Windblade. Always good to see you, my friend. Always good to see you.
What's Sean?
And Refism, I'll answer this question real quick. Did I ever watch the Nightmare on Elm Street TV series? Freddy's Cafe, I believe it was called. I did watch that. I also watched the Friday the 13th series as well. Sporadically, never. I was young, so I kind of
the Friday series is like not. It's way different. Like the Nightmare one actually does have Robert Englund, but like the Friday one is in name only.
Yeah, I think they had one. I want to say there was one connection, one episode or something. At one point, there was some kind of like the mask was there, or something. I don't know, something. I can't remember it now. It's been a long time since I've seen it. But let's go with what you're saying about most consistent films. This was a tough one for me as well. I looked at Nightmare, and I'll admit right here at this point, Nightmare has 3 great movies, but it also has a lot of shit movies underneath. I'm not gonna lie. So I try to go back between Halloween and Friday. And where I'm definitely more of a Halloween guy in general than Friday the 13th. I think I have to admit that PJ, you're right on this one, because Halloween probably has some of the higher highs, I think, than Friday has. But when it comes down to it, they also have Resurrection. It also has fucking even the Curse of Michael Myers is like that theatrical cut, which I hate. It's got some shit.
6, 8.
Right. It's a lot.
Depending on how you want to look at the remake. Depending on how you look at the second movie, depending on how you look at kills, depending on how you look at ends. Right.
Whereas Friday the 13th, I don't think it ever quite reaches that high. I'll be honest. Like when I have a list I kept of like the top of I combined the franchises into one letterbox list at one point. And here's a spoiler if you never saw it. My top 5 movies, no Friday the 13th are in the top 5. But you know what you're getting when you get a Friday the 13th movie.
To be fair, I'd also probably fight you because Friday Part 6 is like legitimately excellent.
That's my number 6.
Okay.
Friday number 6 is like that's my favorite Jason movie, and it's legitimately excellent. Exactly. But at the end of the day, that's what we mean about consistency. Jason might not have quite the heights that Halloween or Nightmare have in my eyes, but it's very, very consistent throughout. You know what you're getting when you get a Friday the 13th, and there's no really awful, even though the worst Friday the 13th movies still are same generic ideas for the most part that you can get through. So I agree. With the same thoughts there. Matty, do you have anything to contest that with potentially? Or no?
I do. I'm gonna go with the Nightmare movies.
Okay.
I'm gonna go with the Nightmare because for some, I don't know why. For me, the Halloween movies, they are so up high to the highest of highs to the lowest of lows. But the Friday movie, I can't really have anything bad to say about the Friday movies. It's more the Halloween movies.
They're consistently great.
The Nightmare movies for me, it kind of showed what kind of a sick freak the Wes Craven is.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
I mean, not only did he give us like handsome ass Johnny Depp pee in the bed, which is hilarious, but it was like the Nightmare movies to me kind of pushed the boundaries as opposed to like the slash gash cut a hole in your ass kind of fucking horror movies.
Slash gash cut a hole in your ass.
Yeah, it wasn't that fucking scary movie, I think.
Yeah, I think so.
But like the kill that I'm going to talk about later, Freddy's kills were always like so creative. They weren't just like grab you, smash you, like cut you to pieces. Like it was mentally fucked with your head the way that he would do it. Because like I wouldn't be able to sleep after watching those movies because I would think, "Fuck, how would Freddy kill me in my sleep?"
Okay, that's fair. If that's what you want to go with. I'm going with that.
It like consistently, like those movies consistently pushed the boundaries of what a kill in a horror movie looks like.
Well, you brought it up. Let's go right on to our next subject, which is best kills. And Matty, since you're already on the subject,
you might
go ahead.
You
might continue.
Freddy killing Philip in Nightmare 3 using the fucking puppeteer of his own veins is the freakiest fucking shit I've ever seen in my life. Can you imagine hanging by your own veins while a man is playing you like a puppet?
Woo.
Yeah.
Oh, good.
I can't even argue it because, it's funny. I think about it. And like some of my favorite horror kills all come from Jason. But there's a sameness to some of them. Don't get me wrong. But I mean, like there's the great kill in Halloween 2 down the stairs. There's the cryo freeze kill. There's the sleeping bag kills. Like Jason's got some really great ones. None of them reach the heights of the stuff that Freddy is ultimately able to do. Like they're so iconic. Like, it's prime time, bitch. Like who doesn't remember stuff like that?
Same movie. That's the same movie as that.
No, I know.
The third one. That's one of the most iconic in all history. Well,
I mean, look, the argument becomes like even Freddy gets in Jason's head, right? And fucks with him in Freddy versus Jason. To me, that is like the pinnacle of just how much Freddy is the iconic kill maker and the one who fucks with people the most and makes him the most interesting when it comes to that sort of thing. Like, I love Michael, but there's nothing that stands out other than pinning Bob to the wall, right?
A couple times over throughout the franchise, basically.
Yeah.
Done a bunch of times.
Michael's kills don't reach the heights of Jason or Freddy, but no one can reach what Freddy does, no matter what. Look, the Johnny Depp murder in the first movie is one of the most iconic moments in any horror film.
Absolutely.
Like
blood spurting everywhere.
Yeah.
It's so great. Absolutely.
Every one of the Nightmare kills is like very interesting to me. Even in the lesser movies, the kills are still very interesting and they're the things that make it watchable. Yeah. So to me, I have to give it to Freddy because without Freddy's kills, I don't know if those movies are nearly as interesting.
I fully agree. I'm jumping on board with both of you guys at this point because Halloween has never been about the kills.
No,
and that's important in this category. Michael kills are, but they're. I mean, they at some point they kind of developed. I think they try to keep up with the Joneses, and they did a few times. Especially the remake does some things here and there. This recent trilogy has a couple of brutal kills. They felt actually less Michael and more Jason.
Which was a thing that you and I talked about on the podcast, actually. Like, legitimately, we talked about, if you go back and listen to those two Mediocre White Dude episodes, that there definitely is a sea change around 6,
Mhm.
where he starts to become a little more Jason. Like
Right.
they were really going for the bigger kill count and like trying to make it more shocking. Like they were blowing up heads.
Yeah, they were trying to leak in. They were trying to lean into the artistic side of Michael's kills, which was there in the beginning. He always had a more
Yeah.
artistic side to him and everything else, but it wasn't. There was no gore factor involved, which kind of let it down. I agree. Freddy's. I mean, you just said Nightmare on Elm Street 3. There's 2 of the most iconic kills in all 3 franchises. Were both in that same movie, and he's got more of them like that. He always is very imaginative, very ingenious. Some of them come off cheesy, some of them come off dumb, but they always come off interesting. And fun for the most part. Reefism is the best. Yes, Freddy Krueger was the most fun of the 3. Yeah, absolutely.
Even Freddy's Dead, like there's some great moments within the video game thing, and like then the cooking show thing. Like there's all sorts of weird stuff that happens, but it's still ultimately fun to watch in some capacity because the kills are interesting.
And like having his fingers as syringes with the overdose kill as well is just like, oh, dude. Fuck that. But I will say, Jason and Jason X with the 2 naked chicks in the sleeping bags.
Sleeping bags.
That is one of the most hilarious kills I've ever seen in my life. Like that,
dude,
I love that kill.
Low key, Jason X has some of the best kills in the entire franchise. The cryo freeze kill is one of my favorites. It might be my favorite of all the Jason kills.
I always
puts the girl's head in the cryo freeze and then smashes it on the. It's so good. Like Jason X, low key actually rules. I will take no questions at this time.
I fully agree with you on that too. None for me as well, and I agree. They both had very cool kills. They both had very fun kills. Just want to throw the chat there. First of all, got a Streamlabs from Jason Voorhees saying, "I'm back, the man behind the mask."
Alice Cooper, one of the great songs.
It is. It's very
of
cool.
the 80s. And ever.
Just throw out a couple quick chats there. Jason again saying it's a cool Monster of the Week show, talking about the Friday the 13th. It was exactly what it was, an episodic scary artifact of the week, which was kind of cool. Lego saying Jason Lives is so fun. Jason, I remember he just came up during Matty's conversation. Matty was talking about the puppet kill. That is very iconic. Jason was thinking the same thing. And I already showed up Briefism. Finally, yes, Lego, not sure. Scream Mad George. She definitely did work on Dream Warriors. She definitely has that credit, so I assume it was her. And yeah, it's a very fucking well done effect as well. So yeah, I agree. We're both we're all on the same page as far as that goes. I mentioned I was kind of surprised. I thought somebody might go Jason because the iconicness of some of the things. Like I want to throw out there the one I do like quite a bit was Friday the 13th 7 and the party horn through the eye. I did like that one a lot as well.
Look, there's some great highs in the Friday the 13th. Again, like I go back to the wheelchair scene in the second movie. Or look, all of the stuff in 3. 3 is one of my least favorites, but there's some fun kills in it because they were doing like the cheesy 3D kills. So Jason is like no slouch in this fight. The problem is that Freddy's continued to be iconic and like looked back on in such interesting ways. And when you watch a lot of these like top kill moments or top horror moment type shows and things like that, the Friday stuff like never makes it towards the top in the same way that you see most of the Freddy stuff, because the Freddy stuff is fucking terrifying.
Yeah, absolutely.
You gotta have a sick fucking mind to come up with some of the Freddy shows.
Right.
Absolutely, and I'm here for it. All right, well, we are 2 of the categories down. Let's move to the next category. We got highest peak, and I'll start this one out if you guys don't mind on this one. This is a tough one to do. It is very tough. Michael being the first, obviously the first of the 3, and he had a very iconic moment there where he was the slasher guy. Freddy did come in. Jason came in next, obviously, and then Freddy. I'm gonna take out Jason right away. In that it was kind of similar argument you had with the most consistent films, right? He had the most consistent films, but he always kind of had to shrug off that imposter criticism because he kind of was. I mean, let's face it, Michael. You put Michael, Freddy, and Jason together, you got Freddy is a very one kind of killer. Michael was the other kind of killer, and then Jason seemed like, yeah, it's another kind of like Michael, just more supernatural, more kind of thing. More, it's a big, tall, silent guy in a mask. So I kind of feel like Jason always kind of had to shrug off that imposter criticism. So he never quite reached the heights that he could have. He's always a little bit second rated. I do love it. I do love him still. I'm not trying to say anything. But I will say, to me, as a child of the 80s, I don't think you can get higher than when Freddy Krueger was at his height. Because as much as Michael had his ups and downs as well, he was very overall consistent. But at the height, you had Freddy Krueger coming on talk shows. You had Freddy Krueger like selling products you had like Freddy Krueger and like Nightmare on Elm Street lunch boxes for kids. Like, how is that possible? You have a slasher, R-rated slasher on like second or third grade lunch boxes. I think at the peak level, there was no higher than Freddy. It didn't last as long, obviously, and we haven't seen a Freddy movie since 2010. And even before that was like Freddy versus Jason in 2003 was the last time we had it before that. So there's been a while. But when Freddy was at that peak in the 80s, there was none higher.
That's interesting because I see that more as like a legacy than I do as like the highest highs as far as movies is concerned. Because I think that at the end of the day, the highest high has to go to Michael, and it has to go to Halloween because the original Halloween is like the prototype for what us ending up with Freddy. It's why we ended up with Jason. Like, Paramount literally made Friday the 13th as a response to that. And you could also make the argument that makes Jason more iconic because by the time Halloween 2 came around, they were trying to match the kills at that point of what Friday had already done. So they tried to amp up the blood. They tried to amp up the scares. They tried to make it more like a Friday the 13th movie. But I think that Michael, at the end of the day, considering we just had Halloween Ends, like we went through this trilogy, that character and that legacy, I mean, I guess it's a legacy argument too, but the highest of the highs comes to Halloween because it's the thing that sets off the like push back into the slasher genre, and it kind of creates this wave. It's the first time that a horror movie starts to get like a bigger rollout in 1978, and like, remember, that was a weird thing for that to happen. Most of the time when you were seeing horror films, you were going out of your way to like more dangerous areas, if you will, or like these like sleazy grindhouse theaters. No one was seeing horror movies at a multiplex down the street in the same way that they were when Halloween came out. So because of that, it started that trend that people started going to those movies. It was because of Halloween being that high, and Halloween is not just like a good movie, it's an all-time great movie. It's a movie that has like withstood the test of time, that we are still going back to it. I mean, it's literally playing at a theater tonight down the street, that like 40 years later. That's fucking crazy. This movie is the highest high of almost any of the slashers because I think it transcended just like the horror audience and became an everyone thing, like to the point that even my parents have watched it. And that's saying something because my parents don't watch scary movies really. So my parents, having seen Halloween but never have seen a Friday the 13th or a Nightmare on Elm Street, like they know the characters, but they've seen Halloween. Halloween is the highest high.
I just want to toss it before Matty we get to you about it, because I want to get to you. I will say, honestly, I can't argue with anything you just said, PJ. I will honestly say that I just think we're attacking these things differently in a way. It's kind of thing because like this is kind of a spoiler now. We'll get to it when we get to Better Legacy. I have the same arguments. So why this is like in a way it's legacy. This is my legacy argument for Halloween in a way. So we're basically just looking at the same thing. We actually have the same thing agreements at the point. I agree. Halloween is easily the first Halloween. Original Halloween is the greatest film of the entire all three franchises.
For me, that makes it the highest high. Because you can't be better.
I took it as peak popularity, like when he
we
just kind of attacked it differently a little bit.
We did because I looked at, since we had Legacy, I didn't look at it as like the character Legacy until later down the road.
Interesting. It's
so I looked at it as what is the best movie in this franchise, because there is a very close argument for the original Nightmare, and there's even a close argument for Friday 6. But there's something about that original Halloween that is still so fucking haunting. To me, that is the highest high.
My wife Kim hates horror movies, and she's actually going to be watching Halloween with me on Halloween this year. I got her to watch it with me. That says something. And yeah, it's because it is the most iconic. Peak. What does peak mean? I guess it's a hard combination to say. When I had it in my mind, I was like, I guess maybe peak popularity. Peak. How much did the character?
If it's peak popularity, that changes it. But again, that's why I looked at Legacy was what I took as peak popularity. And when I looked at this as peak, it's what is the highest high of all the franchises. and that to me is Halloween.
So basically, we're just switching arguments for the categories. We have the same we're agreeing on both of them, just where we're placing them. So okay, that's fine.
Pretty much.
So we just basically had the legacy argument, but we'll touch on it later on. I guess we have to have that as well. But all right, Matty, what's your thoughts on it? Where did you?
I attacked it the same way as PJ. I think there's a reason that we are still seeing Halloween movies come out now. And the last Friday movie was what, 2009?
Yeah.
And the last Nightmare was 2010.
Yep.
There's, I think those movies, like, whereas we might love them, commercially, I think they kind of hit a brick wall, and they were like, we don't know where to go any further with these.
Right.
Like, Friday got rebooted, didn't really go anywhere with it.
Didn't like move the needle any direction. Although Derek Mears is a fucking awesome Jason.
Yeah, it's solid.
But like, we're still seeing Halloween movies coming out to the point where I wouldn't be surprised if this trilogy isn't the last one. I wouldn't be surprised if Halloween doesn't end with this one.
Not going.
So I think I'm gonna agree with PJ. I'm gonna say Halloween.
Okay, that's fine. The argument there, by the way, for Jason, just so you know, is that at least Michael wasn't involved in a rights battle with the studios. That's what's kind of kept Friday out of it.
However, this gives me the chance to plug a little thing. If people have not, they need to watch Never Hike Alone, which is this like short form YouTube movie that's a fan film based on the Friday movies that is so good, and they've done 2 of them so far, and the 3rd comes out next year, and they're doing like a full length movie, and it's kept Jason like very well alive no matter the rights issue. So like we still have had Jason, albeit not necessarily legally, but you know, they're fucking great. And you want to talk about some great kills? Those movies have some fucking great kills. Like these guys were not screwing around when they made those Friday movies. Anytime I watch through the series, I also watch Never Hike Alone.
It's good. It is actually very cool.
It's actually good.
Actors from the saga reappear, everything else. It's really actually very good. Before we move on, I just want to say yes, Jay. Halloween did make horror mainstream. It's like a real in chat. Good to see you, Jesse. Ash Williams wins fatality. Hey, you never know.
I mean,
and PJ's here. Billy Campbell.
Rocketeer.
Bruce. I know. See, I got confused. All the Campbells coming on. Bruce Campbell always wins with PJ here. John Getz, Pittsburgh legend Tom Savini with the best effect work in Friday 1 and 4. Yeah, Tom Savini's work on Friday is by far the best of the physical special effects of the entire franchise.
His Night of the Living Dead is also like fucking awesome because of the effect work.
Agreed. Let's see. Jason also peak power creep. Cyborg Jason wins. That's an argument we should have had. At the best, at the most powerful, who wins? I think I might agree that Cyborg Jason might be able to take on almost anybody.
Cyborg Jason's the best.
I do love that.
I fucking love Jason X.
Let's see. Yes, I would love to see all 3 of these on the first ones on the big screen. Although the funny thing is, if you talk about that, I'd prefer to see Halloween, Nightmare on Elm Street. I'd probably actually pick a different Friday the 13th to see the big screen though.
6.
To be honest with you. 6 would probably be maybe 4.
Also, Freddy versus Jason. You can't go wrong with Freddy versus Jason.
Absolutely.
They are actually showing all 3 at the Prince Charles Cinema in London.
Oh, dude, that's fucking rad.
Very cool. Somewhere Kane Hodder just sat up and grabbed a machete. That's to PJ's talk about Derek Mears, I believe.
Is that I really love Kane Hodder. Don't get me wrong. This is a totally other like podcast to talk about it. I just love the Derek Mears Jason because it was the one to me that there's something about the hulking fast nature of him that is so fucking scary. There's a shot, I tell PLD about it every single time we talk about the reboot. There's that one shot in the movie that's like a low angle shot where one of the girls is like being like run down by Jason. That is so fucking terrifying.
Yeah.
That it is seared in my mind because it feels so animalistic. And that's why I like it, because Derek Mears plays the character very close to the animalistic nature of Friday Part 2, which none of the other Jasons are until Derek Mears. And so there's something to me about his Jason that has really like, I fucking love it. I think it's so cool.
Well, you will get the chance because I'm quite sure that Too Many White Dudes is going to cover the Friday 13th saga.
I think it's really fucking imminent at this point. We were pushing it off, but I
I think the idea is we keep pushing it off because we hear that the possibility of getting a new Friday film soon. So we're gonna do what we did for Halloween, build up Friday until we get the new Friday movie. Well, we might not be able to wait. I don't know. We'll have to see what we can come up with. Lego also saying combining the Thorn and H2O timeline, coward. We could do that. I think it could be done. We could definitely make that happen.
There was a comic that attempted to do it that wasn't terrible. The only problem with that is that the moment you do that, Lori becomes like the world's worst mom for abandoning her kid and leaving her to her uncle. Like it becomes real murky real fast to be like, well, was she trying to protect her? But then she didn't do anything. Like no one alerted to her that like, oh shit, Michael's back. And now you let your kid like deal with it and you never showed up. Like
it'd have to be some kind of thing where like she thinks that not having contact with her, Michael would ever find out about her or something. I don't know. It's kind of weird though. I agree. Tom Savini did make modern horror cinema. Fully agree with that concept. Ash has the highest body count. Can't really argue.
I mean, that's not really that's not wrong, probably. Although I don't know, Jason's is pretty fucking high.
Yeah, I gotta say Jason's probably pretty fucking high.
Up there, yeah. All right, let's throw it in here though. Great Nerd Chronic in the chat. Always good to see you.
Hey,
Eric, always good to see you.
Up, Eric.
These guys are the top 3 icons in slashers. I always like asking who's number 4 for you guys. Usually comes down to Leatherface, Pinhead, Chucky, or Ghostface.
It's Chucky.
Chucky.
And the argument is that compared to all the others, he's the only one still being played by the same actor, which I think makes it like hugely interesting. And even like they've rebooted it once, but Don Mancini is still overseeing his Chucky from the 80s till now. That is literally on a television show. To me, that makes him great. Like Ghostface is a great design, but Ghostface is always a different person. Pinhead has been played by multiple people. Leatherface is fine, but there's nothing about him.
I would say there's an argument for Leatherface. I think I do end up on your side with Chucky being number 4, which is kind of strange. It's strange to me to feel because like I feel like Chucky really got like a retroactively looked at more fondly. Like I remember back in the day when Child's Play came out, it was kind of like this is good, it's fine, and then the movies kept going. It was like it's fine, but as like we got older, we kind of went back and watched it and like really had a better appreciation for it. And then Dom Mancini took it in new directions.
So weird because I grew, I'm a little bit younger than you, and like growing up in the 90s, Chucky was one of the most terrifying because I was a kid. Right. And those movies spooked me because I was playing with toys and shit. And you would start to think, oh shit, Chucky. Like that was like a thing. And so to me, that built-in fear of being young always made Chucky scarier. And then by the time like Bride and Seed came out, I was old enough to like sneak into the theater by myself and see them. So Chucky has always like lived pretty predominantly in my mind as like an all-time slasher because of it.
Just like, I mean, I will say that Chucky. So the argument that I'm making, as far as again, I think this is maybe a generational thing, is that there was a very quick. Chucky hit big in the first Child's Play, but it was a very quick dip after that.
Well, 3 is like looked on very not fondly, on release, but it has like come around in time.
And I feel like that's kind of like Bride and Seed were good, and then like recently, especially like the series really kind of kicked back, and I think people look at it now and go, "Wow, we were missing something." Yeah. The argument I would maybe at least posit, I don't know if I agree with it, is that Leatherface and Texas Chainsaw Massacre even predated Halloween and made quite an iconic splash. The problem is, of course, they've never really had a good movie since.
Yeah, I mean,
like
some
other
fun
than
2, and 2 is like more mocking the actual. It's like a meta commentary on the stuff happening around it. It's a very different movie.
Right. And then trash after that. I mean, they had the remakes, which were actually kind of good.
I like the remake.
The remake was actually kind of good. Arlie Emery did his best on the remakes that ever, which were good. So I would say Leatherface is a possibility of being up there. I probably would still go with Chucky overall, to be honest with you, especially most recently. But that's good for me. But what about you, Matty? What do you think?
I'm going Chucky for a sentimental reason.
Okay.
One of the Team Alpha Male Jiu-Jitsu instructors, Felipe, used to call me Chucky because I used to have like a real baby face, like when we first met, and he was just like, "Oh, your baby face, like killer, like Chucky." So that was how I for a while donned the nickname Chucky.
I like that. All right. Real quick, just want to throw out there Halloween Thorn. You finally get the conclusion no one asked for. That's true, John. That's true.
Well, PLD and I talked about it. I would actually love if they did legacy sequels now, like closing out
They should.
certain films and timelines, just so that they can say they did it. Like Rudd was already game to come back.
Right.
He was supposed to be in Kills. He only dropped out because he had to do Ghostbusters. So like
Danielle Harris is all in.
Well,
I know I know.
Easy.
I know. But
Easy.
Danielle Harris is all in.
easy. The Danielle Harris thing right now, I love her as a scream queen, not necessarily loving the shit storm that has come from their recent podcasts.
Yeah, I know. I'm okay. I get it, but I still want to see her in a movie. I'll be honest with you.
I don't disagree. I would love to see an actual continuation from Halloween 4 that feels better.
Yeah, exactly. Real quick. Also, though, Hamill's Chucky was fun, not good, but fun. Yeah, I didn't mind.
I didn't mind him. Actually,
I
don't
thought
think
it was
that
pretty
movie's
good.
bad either. Like that movie's actually pretty fun, and Hamill's very good. But he's Hamill being Joker as Chucky, and
That's exactly what I was going to say. Anytime like I did hear it, I would think of Hamill's Joker.
Yeah, that's what I did. Lego also just said that movie Megan looks like what Chucky 2019 wanted to be. I think that's true. That's a good point.
I agree.
That trailer creeped the fuck out of me.
I think that Juan's entire camp was like, they watched it and they were like, we can do that because
we can do that.
Yeah.
All right, last little bit there. Of course, finally, Eric saying it's a shame that the Halloween franchise beat the Friday the 13th series to the 13th film record. That's a good point. Damn it, that's right. Fair. It is what it is, I guess. It is what it is. All right, let's move on now. We're a little bit behind on time. Let's throw it in there.
Behind on time for who?
For me.
You always want to make it like an hour long, but then you have to know by now. The moment you get me on here, that's not going to happen. Just fucking accept it.
I will. I'll try. I'll do better. Number 4, better future. I think this is a very difficult conversation to have. Better future of the franchises, of the characters. I'll start with this one if you don't.
Oh, I was going to say, I actually think I have an argument, and I think you'll be interested in the way that I'm handling this. I actually think right now the better future is Friday the 13th. And it's not for any other reason other than now that things are starting to clear up and it looks like those movies are starting to potentially be put into development as the rights issues have been worked upon. That means that making movies with Jason now is suddenly a thing, and they're not going to be tied to anything. Like, they're probably not going to follow the reboot. They might not even necessarily follow the original canon, depending on what they want to do. But there's like a sea change under Friday the 13th that's kind of leaving it wide open in a way that's really interesting. Because to me, you come with baggage no matter what on all of these. But coming off of Halloween Ends and where the franchise currently is and how people are talking about it, I think Halloween is at its absolute lowest low as far as continuing goes, and that's a bummer because I really like the Halloween movies, and you know, for better or worse, I like that people keep taking swings with it, and it's very choose your own adventure. But Halloween is like at Halloween Resurrection levels currently, of excitement and moving forward. And I think you've muddied the waters because of what Ends did. Now, Nightmare, there is the chance of doing a single legacy sequel with Heather Langenkamp. She's been talking about it a ton. And the thing is that I don't know if England has it in him to do it again. Now, you could get another actor to do it, but the problem is that no matter what, you're going to be coming off of either you have to follow Robert Englund's portrayal, because that means that you're doing some sort of legacy sequel without him, or you're trying to reboot it again with a new actor. Either way, you're coming into this franchise and you're going to be looked at, no matter what, as a comparison to
that was one of my main arguments. The entire thing when I was going to start first, I immediately ruled out Nightmare because Freddy has to be replaced. Whereas you can put, honestly, you can put anybody, and I don't mean to downplay it, but anybody can be in the Jason and Michael mask and make it work. Right. I like Jason. I like the actors who've done Jason Michael. I'm not trying to belittle them in any way, but they can much easier to be replaced than Robert Englund as Freddy Krueger. I think the way you have to go forward with Freddy, I almost think a prequel would actually be the best chance.
And then to try to put someone new in the role to like throw them into it 100%. And they've talked about doing that in the past. There's every potential that happens. I mean, some of the movies, even Freddy versus Jason, used some of that concept in their flashbacks.
Yeah, you could even have Robert Englund in the film, like introducing and kind of like passing the torch, like he could be an older Freddy in a way. It's kind of weird seeing Freddy sitting at the the fireside talking about.
I don't know, guys. Lego's got a pretty good one here.
I agree.
Bill Skarsgård is young Freddy.
Yeah, I do. I just don't want Skarsgård only doing that, like being known as that guy.
Yeah,
like it actually worked. If you haven't seen Barbarian, that works in that movie's favor. Once you've seen the movie, I don't want to spoil the movie itself. It's way too new, but like that. The way we look at Bill Skarsgård works in that movie's favor.
Yeah.
And I would love to see him not only stay in that realm.
Yeah.
That's why I think Friday, for whatever reason, there's something about this kind of like uncharted territory.
Right.
That to me means that we can kind of do anything. And that's interesting because to your point, Jason is a dude in a mask. You can kind of do anything with that. And you can take big swings. You can do different things. You can go back to Crystal Lake. You can start it over. You can do legacy sequels. You could make a legacy sequel in theory to the reboot if you really wanted to and bring Derek Mears back. Like there is a lot more chance and choice moving forward than where we are with Halloween. Like again, to the point of Halloween, I think excitement's at an all-time low. And you could potentially get Danielle Harris back, but that's only speaking to certain fans. Like no one else is going to care about that if you're the general audience. So my big point is that I think Friday has a more like interesting path forward because there's no saying what they have to do. And I think that makes its future more interesting.
I agree. And I was going to say that because I think that when I said, again, going on from what I was saying before, Freddy has to be replaced. I said my initial argument is that better future, the immediate future would be Jason. I think the long-term future, Michael could have more of a better future.
Sure.
Michael always kind of keeps coming back, but immediately we got Jason coming up and he's winning his court battle, or whatever. I think he is ready to go in that exact same way that Halloween was to a degree. And one other big part about it is if you want to compare Halloween, like if we're going to eliminate Freddy already, say that I like Freddy's possible future, but these two are, but Halloween and Friday can probably beat the potential. When you put it down to Halloween and Friday 13th, Halloween is weighed down much harder by continuity in a way.
Yes.
Nobody argues about the continuity of Jason very much. It's kind of like, they don't care. They don't give a fuck. They don't give a fuck.
100% because no one look, the Friday canon is kind of all over the place too, but like we just kind of accept it. It's cool.
We don't care. Yeah, it's like a thing's like, yeah, all right. So because it's all kind of like wishy-washy anyway. It's like, okay, well, this happens kind of. All you need to know is that there's a big fucking dude in a hockey mask. He loved his mother who was killed, and he's going to kill some teenagers. That's there's no storyline here. Halloween has always kind of had the storyline aspect, and that's always fucked them up a little bit. And also, you got fucking druids and thorn cults, and then you have the sister, there's not the sister, and it's just, and they kind of go five different timelines. It's ridiculous as that far as that goes.
Which is why, like, when we make the joke that it's choose your own adventure, like it is a joke, but it's also fucking true. Which is why, like, you could bring Danielle Harris back, you could bring Paul Rudd back, you could do all these things. Sure, absolutely, you could. Does that make it more interesting or less interesting?
Or does it weigh it down possibly? Jason's wide open territory to go. You can go anywhere you want with him and it's fine. I mean, you could put Jason in a multiverse thing with Chucky and then make, oh, fuck yeah, absolutely. It makes sense. You can't do that as easy with like Michael, for example. So I agree. I'm going to go with Friday.
I think adding to your point as well, especially comparing it to like Chucky, Chucky's kind of had this revitalization with the TV show, I think. And this is a thought I've often had. I would love to see a show called Crystal Lake. Take it away from Friday 13th. It doesn't even have to be a prequel. Have like set it at Camp Crystal Lake, show that environment in the camp, why it is as weird as it is, and then you build up the character of Jay. Like
you could Jurassic World it.
Exactly. And then you could do like Gotham, where they slowly built up to the Joker.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
You could slowly build up to Jason becoming the killer.
There's like all sorts of ideas of like, you know, I've talked about this a ton because I would love to make a sequel to Psycho. I have a great legacy sequel idea for Psycho that I think you could really lean in on and do stuff like that. And I think Crystal Lake as a concept is actually great because it leans in on exactly the same sort of nature of people deciding that no matter the history of the thing, they want to try to buck the trend and make the money. And, you know, there's something to be said about that and something to do with that. So there's some there's an argument to be made. I think Crystal Lake on television actually makes a lot of sense.
Absolutely. All right, so Matty, are you going with Friday then? Also, then is that your final?
I'm going Friday.
Okay, so that we are all in agreement on that. Excellent work. Okay. All right, number five. This is an interesting one. Most intimidating, most scary. Who is the one you don't want to face?
Real quick, can you pull up Lego's last comment?
Okay,
I agree. Lego.
Psycho 2, 3, and 4 are actually really good though, and so slept on because they live in the shadow of the OG. I also agree.
Psycho 2 is one of the all-time great slasher sequels. Psycho 3 is great. Psycho 4 is great. My Legacy sequel picks up after Psycho 4.
I don't know if I actually watched Psycho 4. I never watched Psycho 4. I should watch that at some point.
I think
Psycho,
I watched 2.
the entire crux of my idea for a fifth Psycho movie hinges on the fact that you have seen Psycho 4.
Okay. I mean, I want to watch it anyway. I definitely watched 1, 2, and 3 most recently. I love all three of them. I think they're 2 and 3 are highly underrated. 3 especially. Look, like I said, I think 2 is one of the all-time great like slasher sequels of all time. But 3 especially because Perkins directs it from like Norman's perspective makes that movie have like such a weird fucking fever dream that I really adore. Perkins is really amazing, and he's the reason why too. Honestly speaking, I think this might be heretical to say. I think Psycho 2 is almost as good as the original. I think it might be better. Wow, that's really hardcore. I don't know if I can ever quite say that.
The original is in my top 10 movies of all time, but I actually think I have more fun watching the second one.
And it's the Anthony Perkins of it all. He delivers a phenomenal performance in it. So, all right. Most intimidating, like I said, wouldn't you want to face? I mean, wouldn't want to face any of these guys in the corner, obviously, but
let me take this one.
This is definitely a Matty.
I feel like I'm expertly qualified to talk about this one. I feel like I could fuck Michael up if it came down to it, because out of the three, Michael's one that's not really like undead. He is just a dude with like freakish strength. I see that every day in the gym. I get hold of that motherfucker's back. I get hold of an arm. I'm going to rip it off or at least break it enough to get away or to get hold of a machete or a gun or something. Jason, I feel like I'd have a speed advantage over Jason, but I feel like if he got, Jason, I'm talking about Jason. If Jason got a hold of me, I'd probably be pretty fucked because seeing the way that he slammed two people into each other with sleeping bags, I think if Jason did get a hold of me, I'd be pretty screwed. Freddy, I love to sleep. I have to sleep a full 8 hours a day. Otherwise, I am the most miserable motherfucker on the planet. Not much can wake me up from a dead sleep. I'm a very, very, very heavy sleeper. Paul, you've shared a house with me. You know this. There is not a lot that can wake me up other than myself.
That's true.
So being stuck with Freddy for about 9 hours. Nope. Michael, point. I could probably take. Jason, I could probably run away from. Freddy, I got no chance. I'm fucked.
I will say, I think you're arsenalizing Michael a little short. He does have some supernatural feel to him at times, especially like when he gets down more. He takes 6 bullets to the chest. Michael in Halloween Kills is actually very intimidating, and Getz brings up a good point. Yeah, in the original, Michael's not that intimidating. I get that because he's mostly intimidating to like scare teenagers and things of that nature. But I will say that Michael does have. I mean, you got to go with. You can choose which Jason, and you got to go with the overall amalgamation. I mean, because Jason from Friday the reboot and Friday 2 were much more faster and animalistic, like PJ had said. But interestingly enough, I also agree with you. At the end of the day, that Michael, I could definitely Michael's the least of the intimidating of the three. Jason, I can hopefully get away with. Hopefully he's much more walking Jason, and I can get into a car that doesn't magically all of a sudden not start because that just seems to happen everywhere. But you're right that you can't run away from Freddy. There's only so much you can do. I mean, there's a medication you can take to not dream, but that doesn't seem to last very, very long.
9 so 10 never sleep again.
Yeah, 9 10 never sleep again. And what about you, PJ? What do you say?
All right, this is tough. Because I think that each one of these kind of depends on who you are, right? Like, I'm not super scared of a guy like Jason because the truth of the matter is I don't find myself off in any neck of the woods in normal time where I don't think a dude in a hockey mask is probably going to find me. But I live in a suburb and Michael loves the fucking suburbs. So there is something really fucking scary about the idea of a dude like Michael walking around your suburbs killing people. But I think that the one that's the most powerful and the most scary is the dude who lives in your dreams, because sleep is like one of my favorite things, kind of like Matty. I love to sleep. Sleeping is great. There's nothing better than a good night's sleep. Someone fucking with my night of sleep and potentially trying to kill me while I'm doing like the one thing that should be like a safe space. That's not right. And that's why that dude is the scariest, because that guy is going to fuck with your dreams and he's going to kill you in your dreams. And I need sleep. Like there's no part of me that doesn't need sleep. I like Matty. If I don't have a lot of sleep, PLD, you've seen me. I can be very fucking grumpy.
That's damn sure.
I can be very fucking grumpy, and I don't like to be grumpy. So Freddy fucks with that, making him the scary one to me, because he's gonna fuck my sleep up. Nah, I'm good. Fuck you. Shit.
Those are good points. Good points being made. Got some great stuff in the chat here. I gotta say, Lego. I think the only person I have a chance against my spirit animal, Klutz Ghostface. That's true. Ghostface is a Klutz. We can all get away from him. However, I don't sleep much and I drink so much coffee. I wouldn't even meet Freddy. Okay, that's fair. That's for you.
Nice.
It must be nice. Eric, one odd thing that's consistent through Friday films that Jason's most vulnerable in the head/face. I consider that canon. Aim for the head, Matty. Aim for the head.
That's a good point. Yep.
Lego Michael is just a dude, though. Was sent him to space. It almost happened. It almost happened. And actually, Jason X is pretty much a response to that pitch at one point. So, let's see. Reefism, do you think Annie Matichak would like to appear in another Halloween film? I probably think she'd want a break at this point.
I mean, look. Here's the thing. There's not even a good way to do it.
Right.
With the way that technically ends.
Right.
I mean, there is in a capacity with the theme, if you will, that they set up. But the truth of the matter is even at that point, what does that theme matter when neither of the people that the theme is talking about even exist anymore? Like, spoiler alert for Halloween Ends, but like, I mean, obviously the movie is called Halloween Ends. Yeah, Michael meets the end, and they like really make sure that Michael meets his end, but so does the other character. So is there a world where I'd love to see Matichak come back? Absolutely. I think she's super fucking talented, and she might be the best thing about that new trilogy, to be honest with you.
Yeah.
She's just that fucking good. But there's no story left to go. Like,
she can come back as a different character.
Yeah, I mean, they did that with Danielle Harris. So I mean, that's probable, but and again, I think that's why I'm not excited about Halloween right now, because again, I'm not really sure where they go with it.
Yeah, I think we got to take a break from it now.
And I liked Ends more than most people, but I just don't know where you go.
I don't think you liked it more than Brandon Hanna did.
No, Brandon Hanna's on fucking crack. Like, I'm gonna say it right now. I love that dude.
I love Brandon
way too much.
It's like, what is like number 2, like a second favorite of the franchise, I think, which is very
look. I think it's a great Carpenter love letter. I think it loves all of Carpenter's filmography. I think that's great. That movie has like strong Christine vibes. I also love Stephen King, and I love that about it too. But it is not. I don't want to get into it.
We already have a whole Halloween Ends podcast. You can look at that.
Please go listen
to it. On Halloween Ends, and then we'll go talk about
because I wasn't on the podcast. I'll just say now. I thought it was kind of fun.
It is. It's fun.
I didn't hate it.
No, it's just not a good finale because
that's the problem with it.
The trilogy is out of order. Halloween Ends should be the first movie.
Yeah, I agree. I fully agree. That's another thing we talk about on the podcast. So, really quick, we'll throw it out there. Zombie Cyborg Jason will murder you. It's true. Get saying I never get laid or smoke pot, so Jason would be nice to me. That's an interesting aspect as well. Maybe.
John, you're a handsome ass dude, so I
don't know, man. He killed a lot of people who weren't smoking and having sex too. Like,
that's true. They're just around though. If he's by himself somewhere, around. Who knows? Who knows? All right. Let's get into finally then. The Better Legacy. This is the one where we talked about this already. So in a way, I kind of feel like we know what we're doing. What PJ said about Peak is what I say about Legacy. Is that obviously Halloween? This one wins easily for me because at the end of the day, there's one absolute masterpiece of a horror film in all the 3 franchises. And Nightmare on Elm Street Part 1 and even Part 3 are great horror films, and I would consider them like masterpieces, but not to the same degree. Halloween's a step above that. Friday the 13th, I don't think is anywhere even close as far as that. I mean, Jason Lives is a great film and it's fun and it's everything else, but as far as like masterpiece of horror, that's Halloween, and that's Michael's legacy.
It's a fair argument. However, the legacy lives on and continues to fuck the entire Nightmare franchise because of one performance, and that's Robert Englund. And that one performance and that one legacy that created lunchboxes and cameos on the Goldbergs and a TV show and has jacked a franchise so bad that they don't know what to do with it because you can't seem to do it without him. The remake kind of proved that. That legacy stands the test of time. There is no performance in any of these movies or any horror performance ever, and I mean that. There is no horror performance probably ever other than Anthony Perkins that is iconic and left a lasting imprint on all of pop culture in the way that Freddy Krueger has because of Robert Englund and his performance. I think that legacy has, for better or worse, completely stained that franchise to the point that they don't know what to do. And that legacy is pretty fucking amazing, and that he is going to go to his grave always known as Freddy Krueger. To your point, Stranger Things basically gave him a Freddy Krueger style cameo in season 4. Like, this character, this legacy, that performance permeates pop culture in a way that only anyone else can imagine. And I think that's really fucking cool. Friday has had great movies. Halloween has had great movies. The franchises continue to go. It's very obvious Halloween's legacy is huge because we just had a trilogy out of it. But I don't think that anything matches quite the way that England's does.
You know what? You've kind of convinced me. I want to say before Matty, before we get into you, I just want to say I'm going to flip flop my votes because, like, we have the same exact feelings.
Yeah.
We just switched the categories as far as I'm concerned.
Yeah.
So, but I, in retrospect, I'm thinking I get what you're saying about legacy versus peak. So I'm going to flip flop my votes, which means I'm going to make the highest peak be Michael and make the better legacy be Freddy for those exact reasons. Because we're on the same page. We're actually on the same page.
We're 100% on the same page.
We just had a different concept of what highest peak versus legacy meant. So
yeah,
I'm convinced otherwise. I agree. Because Robert Englund by far is, again, we said it before, you can replace Jason and Michael anytime.
And they have.
They have. They've done it multiple times.
Yeah.
And that's no slight to Kane Hodder, no slight. I mean, that's what it is. Robert fucking Englund. So
yeah,
Robert Englund. So I'll go with that as well. All right, Matty, now your shot. What do you think?
I'm gonna take it outside of the movies, and I think from a merchandising standpoint, especially, Nightmare is the one. Because I remember 2012, first time I came up to the States, I went into a Hot Topic. There was shelves on shelves and racks on racks of Nightmare merch and just like t-shirts and like loads of different bands. You had like Ash Costello from New Year's Day was dressed as Freddy Krueger in one of their music videos. You have Ice Nine Kills, who pretty much wrote an album about the Nightmare movies. Like the influence of Freddy Krueger, Robert Englund, and the Nightmare franchise on the counter and alternative culture as a whole is absolutely massive. So I think from terms of influence as well on other things outside of the movie space, I think I know I've got to give it to Nightmare.
Yeah. Oh, all right. Wow. Okay. I can't argue that as well. Absolutely. What a great conversation this has been. I've had so much fun.
It really has, because it's so interesting. It's so intricate.
Yeah.
And all these characters have something to say. They all have something to do. It just makes it interesting.
But we do have a winner. I've been tabulating, and I'm obviously
Double check the count.
Do you do math correctly?
I do. I have never screwed up the count on this.
Because I gotta go back to the start of the show real quick. Jeff preemptively demands a recount.
Yeah,
even with me shifting.
PLD, he actually, he's very good with numbers. Unlike some uncultured people around here who think movies made by James Cameron are masterpieces from the 2009 year.
James Cameron, who doesn't like comic book movies, by the way.
James Cameron can suck my dick. I'm going to say it right now. That dude needs to fucking calm down. Hot meat kettle, glass houses, throwing rocks, all that shit. Did anyone actually watch Avatar? There's nothing memorable about those characters.
Jarvi did.
Jesus fucking Christ. Compared it to the Marvel characters who are now almost 30 movies and a couple of TV shows in that people are like rallying around, it just comes off as sour fucking grapes. Dude needs to calm down. This is the same equivalent of him being mad that the Jackass dudes did a 3D movie because he said that it hurt the 3D trend and was like disrespectful. That
movie was fucking great.
Like, yeah, like calm the fuck down, James Cameron.
Listen,
Do you know how long through this episode I've been waiting to thread that out there just to get you to explode on James Cameron?
We will have an episode involving James Cameron. We'll have you on versus Jarvi.
I'm not going to be a part of that. I refuse to give Jarvi any semblance of happiness.
Has Bruce Campbell ever directed a movie?
Yes, The Man with the Screaming Brain.
There we go. Bruce Campbell versus James Cameron.
Wow. Interesting. Going back to our discussion, Jay says my 9-year-old daughter only knows Freddy Krueger, Chucky, and Ghostface, which surprises me because I know Jason very well, and Jason is a very big Jason fan. So that says if Jason's Jay, who loves Jason, his daughter doesn't even know Jason comparatively, that says something to me. So
I love Eric's because I do give me any fucking chance, and I will like suck my dick, James Cameron.
Fair enough. Well, I have tabulated. I double checked, even with my flip flopping of categories here and there, and we have a clear winner. Even if we take out the most, I'll throw it out there, throwing some backstage stuff out there. I did throw the most intimidating category out, kind of sort of last minute last night, because I kind of thought that'd be a fun discussion to have. Even without that, we have a winner.
Go tell us who didn't make the first or second cut first.
Yeah,
the one who's eliminated is Michael Myers very easily. Okay. He pretty much got trashed.
I was gonna say, like, what other than
he had 3. He had 3 points total, the highest peak. That's the only thing he won, and all 3 of us voted for it now, and that's it.
That checks out, to be honest.
So therefore, the winner, 10-5-3, is Freddy Krueger.
Yeah,
I'll be honest. It's really funny in hindsight because I'm like not the biggest Nightmare fan, and yet I fought for it because that was a lot of this was set up in a way that I could not argue against Freddy, and that's fucking pretty impressive.
That's how these categories work. What my favorite part about this show is, which I've always talked about that even from back in the action industries days, we have sometimes where we'll put films up against each other where we have this concept in our mind where, well, this film's definitely better than this film. This film should definitely win, but it'll be fun having a discussion. And then after the categories, we go, damn, we couldn't win. That's what it is.
Look at the second one we did, Top Gun versus Top Gun Maverick. Like I went into that thinking, Top Gun's a fucking classic. Like as great as Top Gun Maverick is, Top Gun's obviously gonna win this. And then Maverick won, and I was like, damn, okay.
It's quite a bit. Yeah, that would be fun, Jay. That would have been a fun category, most fun category. I don't know which I would say. But I would say Jason. Off the cuff.
I think at that point Friday becomes the easy peak for me because I think those movies continue to be the most fun of all of them. Like I said earlier, like of all the ones I go back to, those are the ones where I don't feel like if I put one on, I'm going to have a bad time no matter what.
And it goes back to consistency. That's part of it. Yeah. I would posit that Freddy is a lot of fun though. His kills are a lot of fun as well. So I would have a lot of fun watching Freddy ones as well. So, but either way, that'd be that.
Freddy has the most fun moment I've ever seen in a horror movie at the end of Freddy versus Jason. Just spoiler alert for a movie that came out fucking years ago. Jason walks out of the water holding Freddy's head, and Freddy just winks at the camera.
Yeah,
I was like, that is so great.
I love it so much. That actually might be one of my favorite moments in the whole. I'll throw it out there now. One of my favorite moments in that movie when Freddy brings Jason to the real world, and or the kids help them bring Jason to the real world, and all of a sudden Freddy realizes he's in the real. Freddy turns around and sees Jason hulking, and just like great iconic moment. Oh fuck, I'm fucked now.
That third act of that movie is so fucking cool.
So fun. That's fun.
I'll say it. I love that movie. I watch it every Halloween season. I just think it's super fucking fun.
I might have to add it to my rotation because normally every Halloween I watch The Lost Boys. That's like my Halloween tradition is I go watch The Lost Boys. But I feel like Freddy versus Jason may have to work its way into that list.
I agree, and I will throw it up there all anytime because the best thing about that movie to me is how it builds on both mythologies and it tries to take. And it's a kitchen sink movie. It takes every bit of mythology it can from all the franchises and then just throws it all together, and you have a great battle. And even without a clear-cut winner, It's still
And
fun.
I can't stress enough, like if you've never had a chance to find the comic Freddy vs. Jason vs. Ash, which was made off of the script
need
of
to
the
do that,
movie, it there's actually I'll send you. There's a YouTuber who did like semi-animated like vocal version of it and
Sweet.
used all the panels. It's very cool. I've watched it in the past because I think it's pretty hard to find now. I think it's out of print, but like that first comic, it shows how much the people who made those movies actually cared. And you can tell even with that second one, like the way that Paul's talking about the mythology, the way that it starts to tie Evil Dead into it and like it works is pretty fucking astounding.
Mhm.
And that's why Freddy versus Jason is so fun, because the people who made it do care. I do think there's a couple of times in the movie Freddy acts a little out of character and says some stuff that he normally shouldn't say or wouldn't say, but the movie itself is just so good.
Real quick, so I say thanks, Jay. He's got to run to great discussion.
Thanks, Jay. Appreciate it.
Up very soon. Jarvi looks a little bit different. Can't
more handsome for sure. Can do math. Has correct opinions about James Cameron movies.
Wasn't in a bad Christopher Nolan movie.
Yeah, correct.
Wow, Matty even goes.
Hell yeah, Lego.
And Lego saying she owns Freddy vs. Jason versus Ash. Awesome. All right, well, let's end this then on that. I got a couple things we're going to talk about real quick. Patreon.com/PLD Projects. Join us there. We got a great little group, Facebook group. We have some extra content that comes your way. We have a great chat. We have some great hangouts that happen. I want to throw out some couple of patrons, specifically Danielle Ramirez, Brandon Buckingham, Brandy Parker, Jeff Alterman, John Lastrina, Kelly W., and the rest of you. I can't do this without you. You help keep the lights on, so to speak. So really do appreciate you there. I want to throw out some quick plugs. Obviously, PJ and I took a couple days, weeks off after our Halloween franchise work through. We took last week off. We're going to take this week off as well, but then we're going to come back with a duo for Danielle Ramirez. It's her Patreon choice for us to cover the duo of The Shining and Dr. Sleep masterpieces. That should be a lot of fun to discuss. Also, we got Crown Jewels, my podcast about Queen, going forward. The next song coming out on Friday. We got Funny How Love Is, the next song in the track. A very cool track from Queen 2. Can't wait for you guys to hear that.
God, I fucking love Queen 2. That's probably my favorite Queen album is Queen 2. Oh, it was definitely the first one I got. I think I still have the cassette of it.
Oh, nice. It is a great album. It's a precursor for everything they did. They threw the kitchen sink at that album at this point. They had, the first album was like their kind of introduction. And they said, fuck it, we're going to go all in. It's awesome. So can't wait to do that as well. And please find us on Spotify now as well. Wherever you can find podcasts. We are uploading. Obviously, TB Jerk White Dudes is on Spotify. Crown Jewels is on Spotify. And also now we are going to be uploading Class Action on Spotify. I'm going to try to do as quickly as I can. So eventually the idea is we will have this episode on YouTube and then I'll put it up on Spotify right away. I'm going to put the older episodes up from Volume 2 from the PLD Project Network up first. We'll speed through as best I can. We'll get there. And then likewise, I'm bringing 2 Mediocre White Dudes over here. We actually are a visual element now, PJ and I. PJ has to actually get dressed up and shower and stuff for
I didn't do that today. Sorry.
So it's okay. It's okay. And we can do that.
More pie.
That's right.
Yeah.
So that, and I also am putting on I am putting the Crown Jewels on the YouTube channel as well. It's still not a visual thing. It's more just a audio thing as well. But I couldn't, the way it's edited, it doesn't work out very well. But yeah, that's it, guys. Where can the folks find you? Matty, how about you?
You guys can find me on. Before plug, we should probably announce what we're doing next week.
I was gonna say that to the end, but okay.
Okay, well, we'll save it to the end then. You guys can find me on Twitter at Matty Gunner, Instagram Matty_Gunner. You can go to Mourner.co. My band Mourner have a song out today called Hope Fell Silent. Please check it out. It's the best. Honestly, it's the best music I've ever done. I put everything I had into, especially the vocals, and yeah, I'm super proud of it. I'm super excited that it's finally out. So you guys can check that out on Spotify, wherever you get your music. And you can find me here every Wednesday with PLD, sometimes Jarvi, hopefully more of PJ for Class Action.
The correct answer is there will be more of me because I am the better of Jarvi or I. So
means I'm going to have to actually get Jacob Patrick to make me a couple more underlays. So I got to put your name up there instead of Jarvi's.
Yeah, I don't like having to pretend to be Jarvi. It's very uncomfortable for me.
Where can the folks find you, PJ?
Twitter, Instagram, PJ_Campbell. You can find me at the PJ Campbell Network. We do stuff over there when I have time, which I have less of right now. And you can find me at Two Mediocre White Dudes on Film at PLD Projects, which is here. I really love talking about movies with PLD and Matty, and I like having a home here. It's very fun for me. So thank you guys for having me.
We are very happy to have you. We couldn't do it without you, man. Couldn't do it without you. Find me at Paul DiNuzzo on Twitter. As always, you can find me all over the PLD Projects Network as well. Sometimes with Action Industries, I still produce for them on occasion here and there. And that's about it for now. Next week, though, here's the announcement. Next week, what we are going to be doing is a new thing for us. I haven't done this. We are going to take the first season of Rings of Power and put it up against the first season of House of the Dragon. I think that's an interesting discussion for us to have, especially because we've never done TV series like that before.
Now, I will give like an early little prelude. I've been reading up for this one. After the first 3 episodes of Rings of Power, I was kind of like, oh, this is going to be a bloodbath. And then it got into like episode 4 onwards. I was like, oh, okay, this is going to be closer than I thought.
Should be interesting either way.
And Reefism in the chat real quick. Bet the house Anderson Silva by knockout.
Ooh, there you go. And Lego, of course, Elfier's perk from Rings of Power. Should be a lot of fun. I have a lot of things to talk about. But that's next time. So stay tuned until this time. Case is closed. Actually, I don't remember what I say here. My catchphrase here. So justice has been served. Jarvis has been served. Case closed. Let's get out of here. Love you guys. Bye.